Hi, good morning. This is Delegate Amber Canesbaugh-Crotty. I'm calling in from Shiprock. Thank you.
Good morning, Shananta.
Good morning, everybody.
I believe we're the only two on the line so far.
Do we have any, we just have Shadeja, Delegate Crotty, and anybody else on the call that's a Budget and Finance Committee member? Good morning, everybody.
Hi, good morning, Peggy. So I did have a question for Chairman Henyo and maybe your assistant. I could hear you.
Chair Henyo, are you on the call?
I'm here.
Chairman, looking at the agenda and the length of the agenda, do you have any recommendations to request a consent agenda?
Ramona, are you on the call? Can you hear me?
I think I haven't had no request yet, but the ones that are pretty standard I've seen is, I believe, was that CAP 3518, sponsored by Rick Niz, and then the other ones are the Round Rock and the Lucachicay chapter accepting. It's just an acceptance of the corrective action plan for those two chapters, right, as recommended by the Auditor General, which we've done in the past before.
Okay, Chair, I'm gonna make a motion for a consent agenda. I'm gonna just pull up I know that we need to do the formalities, but I just wanted to let you know, I think that might be a way to help expedite this meeting because we're in the chapter work session.
I agree that chapter work session is important to get some information on, and if we can just we have no reports, so that shouldn't take up a lot of our time. It's just we go straight to legislations and just move along. I think we should be done within at least hopefully an hour and a half or so.
Good morning, Vice Chair Smith calling in. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Vice Chair.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me? This is Peggy.
Oh, what do you got? Oh.
Okay, I guess I'm just learning that the sound was almost off on my laptop, so that's the reason why you probably couldn't hear me, and I couldn't hear you guys talking either. So anyway, good morning, everybody.
Oh, good morning, Shada.
Hi, good morning. So, Chairman, I'm looking at the agenda, and Vice Chair, just to prepare for the motion for the proposed consent agenda, I'm going to request 5321, 5421, 6221, and 6921. Chairman, Vice Chair, I'm not sure. I'm just looking for guidance right now.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was looking at too. Also, 53, 21, 54. What's the list you have? That's what I was looking for as that we could just move on those right away.
Chair Henry, this is Vice Chair Smith.
Vice Chair Smith, good morning.
Good morning. Arod Shmayaja. There is an issue when we do the consent. We're just more or less just sending it, and we're the final authority. 53, 54 is the corrective actions, and I'd like to hear what's taking place on each and every one of these. So could we maybe entertain this at the next meeting? on the next BNF meeting. I agree with some consent, but when it comes to doing a corrective action, I think BNF ought to be well aware of what kind of action these chapters are going to be doing in order to correct that, in order to not go into an audit finding or things that has taken place. And there's new officials too that have been elected. So they're probably inheriting, or maybe they are returning officials. And I know when my chapter was submitting a corrective action plan, the last BNF really asked some pertinent questions, and it was an awakening for the chapter officials and with the staff that is with that chapter. So, that Egi, I was trying to go. Benti cheo do naidi kido halet zado halet estedo nifigido azano ona kohina halon elnehna halenta dirishanta. So maybe we could hear this on the next BNF meeting. Joe, we're the final authority. Thank you.
Okay. With that, Vice Chair, if Delegate Amber Kinezwakari is in agreement, we could at the onset of the approving of the agenda, after the motion second, we could do an amendment to move the 2 to May 6th, I believe is when their next meeting is at. And then we could hear those 2, or if it's a time sensitive thing, we could have a special meeting a Tuesday after the spring session.
I'm in agreement. That's a great recommendation. Thank you, Vice Chair. And this informal discussion is just for the staff to prepare or know the amendment and the motion that I'll be making. Thank you.
Okay.
This is Kristen. Chair, this is Kristen. May I say something?
Kristen, go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to let you know that I'm not sure if Speaker will approve meetings while Council is still in session. So you may need to do a special meeting toward the end of the week. That was just one thing that I wanted to mention. But I think you can probably coordinate that with the Speaker staff.
No, I mean the Tuesday after spring session. It's going to be the last week.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
The following week. Okay.
Yeah.
I got it now.
It's not May 6th. It's not our next meeting. I believe it's May 6th or something like that. No, May 6th, 4th, I believe it is.
May 4th.
Okay, so
yeah, May 4th.
So you're talking about the 27th. Got it. Okay. Thank you.
If our schedule allows, yes.
Okay.
You have to also keep in mind, members of the Budget and Finance Committee, that the hopefully we'll know by the last week of April what's going on with the ARPA funds. And we may end up going to the NABI work sessions. Those may end up being priority then. So just keep that in mind as we schedule things. Because then we're going to have to, everything's going to have to hit the road on these sessions.
Thanks, Peggy. Thank you for that. Okay, Shane, let's do an official roll call. Ramona, are you on the line?
Yes, I am, Chairman.
Okay, if you do it, it's 10:09 right now. If you do official roll call for us, please.
Sure. We'll call for the Budget and Finance Committee of the Navajo Nation Council special meeting, April 13, 2021. Nathaniel Brown, and your location, please. Chairman, we have 3 members present upon roll call, 3 members not answering. Chairman?
Okay, Shuna, thank you for that roll call. We'll do a second roll call in 10 minutes. Thank you.
And Chair Henio, this is Vice Chair Smith.
Vice Chair?
I'm looking at
Vice
the
Chair?
agenda.
Oh.
And if you look at item D under new business, it doesn't have B and F on here. It has Health and Education, Human Service, and Nabagia Committee. So is that a typo, or is that maybe get clarification from our advisor, or maybe legislative council? And I think the next one's the same way too, 6-1. It's Education and Human Services, and then Nabagia Committee. But all the rest of...
Which legislation are you looking at?
I'm looking at 0060.
Oh, I think that's yesterday. Peggy gave us the updated agenda. That's not on the agenda we have right now.
Okay.
The agenda I have has six legislations on there. 5321, 5421,
Okay.
5521, 6221, 6321, and 6921.
And 6321-2 is on there, right?
So,
Okay. Well, I'll have to dig up the new agenda. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Chair Henya.
Shunta, Vice Chair's leader.
Thank you very much. I just want to let you know I'm on the call and I'm ready to present my legislations when you're ready. Thank you, sir.
We're waiting for a quorum here. One more.
Honorable Chairman Henyo, this is Delegate Rick Nez, also on the line.
Good to hear you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for taking over yesterday.
Yeah, I figured you didn't have any signal while you're herding your sheep out there at Rama, so I took over.
There we go.
Chairman Henyo, I have legislation 62-21 on there, so I'll be on the line as well as on the work session. Thank you.
Bigaho, Augustina. Just for the record, Chairman Nez, what's your location?
My location is Lower Fruitland, San Juan Chapter Community.
Augustina. Vice Chair Slater, your location for the record?
Senek Round Rock. I can walk outside and you can hear the bluster.
Augustina. Ramona, did you get those? Did you get that?
Yes, I did, Chairman. Thank you.
Augustina.
Chair, this is Peggy. Do we have a quorum yet?
Still lacking one.
Okay, thank you.
Ramona, are you? Would you do a second roll call for us, please?
Sure, Chairman. Second roll call for the Budget and Finance Committee of the 24th Navajo Nation Council. Special meeting, April 13, 2021. Jeremy Kenyo, in your location, please.
I'm present here in Rema, New Mexico.
Thank you, Chairman. Raymond Smith Jr., in your location, please.
Tucson, Arizona, National. Thank you.
Thank you, Shanella. Jimmy Yellowhair, in your location, please. Jimmy Yellowhair. Elmer P. Begay, in your location, please. Elmer P. Begay. Amber Kennisbot Crotty, in your location, please. Amber Kennisbot Crotty, in your location, please. Nathaniel Brown, in your location, please. Nathaniel Brown. Chairman, we have 2 members entering upon roll call, 4 members not entering. Chairman.
Okay, thank you for that. We'll do the third and final roll call in 10 more minutes. Thank you.
Good morning, Budget and Finance Committee. Delegate Brown is on the line.
Good morning, Shiaj. Chair was going to do a third roll call in 10 minutes, but I think we've got quorum now, Chair.
Chair Henyo, this is Delegate Crotty. I've been on the line. Thank you.
Okay, Shannon, thank you for that. With that, let's, Ramona, would you do a roll call for us?
Sure, Chairman. The third roll call for the Budget and Finance Committee of the Navajo Nation Council, special meeting, April 13, 2021. Jamie Kenyo, in your location, please.
I'm present here in Rema, New Mexico.
Thank you, Chairman. Raymond Smith Jr., in your location, please.
Oceanella, Tucson, Arizona. Thank you.
Thank you, Shanella. Jimmy Yellowhair, in your location, please. Jimmy Yellowhair. Elmer P. Begay, in your location, please. Elmer P. Begay, in your location, please. Amber Kennisbot Crotty, in your location, please.
Delegate Amber
Hello?
Kennisbot, and I'll be calling in for the broad Navajo Nation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Shadeja. Nathaniel Brown.
Elmer Begay.
Elmer Begay, in your location, please.
Over at Shiprock.
Okay, thank you, Shana.
Oh, Stasia.
Nathaniel Brown, in your location, please.
Yacht S2, Delegate Brown is present. I'm calling in from Danahuto, Navajo Nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chiche. Chairman, we have 5 members entering upon roll call, 1 not entering. Roll call, Chairman.
Thank you for that roll call. We do have a quorum, so let's call this meeting to order at 10:28 a.m. With that, let's looking at our agenda. We do have invocation, and this morning, Kudo lead citizen. Vice Chair Smith, if you would lead us in prayer this morning for the Budget and Finance Committee meeting.
Negotiation and Shin citizen beyond State, he hit citizen the Halado, Jaya, to the Shinandada no Senigi, Aroyatepen. Gracious Father, thank you for this wonderful morning to conduct business. We got so many things happening, so many things going on. Sometimes our time frame is just not enough to continue to hear everything, but to do everything. But we turn to you for your knowledge and understanding, and we pray for our staff members and their diligence in working, and attorneys that we have, and our delegates that are listening in, and delegates that are listening in on the work session and presenting the work session, those that are trying to get prepared for the dollars that are coming from Washington, the ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act money. We need to coordinate this and get this underway so that we can get folks help in needing of housing, water, electricity, roads, education, veterans, our elders, and senior places, senior homes, and senior centers that need help, and our first responders, and our law enforcement, and our judicial, and our three-branch government. And we just need your wisdom and guidance to coordinate this so that we can have a master plan developed, so that we can coordinate these projects with year 1, year 2, year 3, and get them done accordingly. We pray for our enterprises that are helping out so that they can have the necessary equipment, necessary personnel, contracts, and OMB and OOC, and working in unison to get these things out so that we can get these things done. And pray for the BNF committee members too, on behalf of helping out with the aspects of budgeting and ensuring that these things are done accordingly to laws and regulations, and that we don't do anything that where we have to pay back the U.S. Treasury for that $1 trillion that has been provided by the Biden administration, so that we could get these necessary things that our people are in need of. And we see from each and every one of our communities the things that we encounter every day, Father, such as our folks needing, especially homes, Father. And COVID-19 has created our eyes to be opened up. We put lens on, and we see a different perspective. The houses are needing repair. Some need new homes, and COVID-19 has forced families to stay home, and they're overcrowded, and they need additional space, or they need additional, you know what's going on. You see that, Heavenly Father. So we come to you and just ask for wisdom to provide each and every one of us, 24 delegation, and the executive staff and the executive portion of the Navajo Nation and Hashkejel. We pray for them to also be inclusive in this three-branch government, working with the counties and state and the federal level on behalf of expediting these things. So, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Shikela, Vice Chair Smith, for that invocation and that prayer for all of us. On our agenda, we have recognizing guests and visiting officials. We do have Chairman Rickness on the line, and also Vice Chair Carl Slater also on the line. Are there any other delegates that are on the line? Kushina, I think, but if they come on the line, if you would identify yourself for the record, we'd appreciate that, Shinanda. Though moving forward with our agenda here, we have our staff from Legislative Branch, Peggy Nakai and Ramona Nelson here assisting us, as well as our principal attorney from Alpha's Legislative Council, Ms. Kristen Lowell, who's also on the line with us. And also, do we have any other legislative branch staff on the line? Not to know. Yeah. What about from Navajo Nation Department of Justice?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. This is Helen Brown from the Auditor General's office.
Good morning, Helen.
Yeah, I have been to you and the rest of the committee members. I just wanted to let you know that I have my staff on the line as well. Karen Briscoe, Principal Auditor, and Jasmine Gishi, Auditor. They will be assisting delegates later today with the presentation regarding Round Rock chapter and the Ajagai chapter. So I just wanted to introduce my staff. Thank you.
Markashi, thank you for that introduction. Anybody from the Department of Justice? No, what about Office of the President and Vice President?
Hello, can you hear me? Hello, this is Rudy Nye with the Tax and Finance Unit.
Hello, Rudy. Good morning. Okay,
Chairman.
We have, yes, Che.
This is Delegate So. I'm on the line. Thank you.
Che.
From the Warrior Country, Cuba City, Arizona.
Somebody, there you go. With that, do we have any other visiting guests on the line with us right now?
Yat Ishnadrani, Mr. Delegate, Henio, this is Egerton with the Chendy Agency office, and Robert Jumbo and I are here listening for any questions. Thank you.
Good morning. And good morning, Robert.
Yate, this is Sam B., San Juan Chapter President. Listener.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. This is Marty Ashley, calling from the Office of Navajo Tax Commission to listen in on BNF session.
Good morning, Marty. Thank you for that introduction. Is there anybody else?
Good morning, Budget and Finance Committee. This is Andrea Holmes, Plan Administrator with the Navajo Nation Retirement Office. Thank you.
Hey, good morning, Andrea. Okay, I think hopefully it's not me that's causing that noise. I got muted by the machine here, but let's move forward. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes.
Can you guys hear me? Hello?
Who's this?
This is Charlene with Top Point Chapter.
Yes, good morning, Charlene.
Thank you.
Okay, Shane, let's move forward on our agenda here. It is 10:37, and also reviewing and adopt the agenda. Peggy, if you would read the agenda into the record for us.
Chair, I did send out an agenda with a consent agenda on it. Did you get a chance to look at it? Is that the one you want me to read, or do I just read the one that I posted already?
Read the one that's posted, because the other one is not official yet.
Oh, huh. Okay. Proposed agenda of the Budget and Finance Committee of the Navajo Nation Council, April 13th, 2021, special meeting, 10 a.m. via teleconference. Here in Window Rock, Navajo Nation. 1, call the meeting to order, the roll call, the invocation. 2, recognize guests and visiting officials. 3, review and adopt the agenda. 4, review and adopt the journal, none. 5, receive reports, none. 6, old business, none. 7, new business A, legislation number 0053-21B, legislation number 0054-21C, legislation number 0055-21D, legislation number 0062-21E, legislation number 0063-21F, legislation number 0069-21A, close of the session, written announcements, adjournment. The next regular meeting is May 14, 2021.
Kashin Kanla for that. Reading of the proposed agenda as posted on the internet. So with this, let's the committee members, Budget and Finance Committee members, is there a motion to accept the agenda as read?
Motion by Vice Chair Smith.
Okay, Vice Chair Smith, motion to accept the agenda as read. Is there a second? Is there
Delegate
a second?
second.
Kashin Shinanta, Delegate Amber Knosba Karate second. So there's a motion by Vice Chair Smith and second by Delegate Amber Knosba Karate on the proposed agenda. Committee members, this agenda is open for discussion, comments, questions.
Chairman Henyo, this is Delegate Crotty. I'd like to offer a motion on amendment.
Kashin, motion and amendment number 1.
Yes. Thank you, Chair Henyo. In lieu of some of our time, I'd like to request a consent agenda. And the consent agenda would have legislation 62-21, 69-21, and that would be the consent agenda, Chair. Thank you.
Kashin Kanla for that motion for consent agenda. Amendment number 1. Is there a second, committee members? Before I recognize a second, Peggy, would you read the legislation 62-21 and 69-21 into the record, reading the title, and then that way I'll request for a second after that.
Legislation number 0062-21, an action relating to resources and development, budget and finance committees, approving a change in resolution number CAP 3518, exhibit D, project number D5, deleting the project description, multi-purpose site improvement, and adding road improvement for N566 and N361, plan, design, and construct, and changing the funding year to year 3, sponsored by Rick Nez, Council Delegate. Legislation number 0069-21, an action relating to the Budget and Finance Committee approving and adopting an amendment and restatement of the Navajo Nation 401c or 401k savings plan to amend the plan's automatic contribution, automatic enrollment arrangement, and hardship provisions, sponsored by Jamie Henio, Council Delegate.
Kashin Kanla for that reading. Committee members, is there a second to amendment number 1, the consent agenda?
Vice Chair Smith, I'll second.
Okay, Vice Chair Smith, second. So there's a motion on the floor for a consent agenda by Shinanta, Delegate Amber Knuzba Akadi, and second by Shinanta, Vice Chair Smith. Committee members, there are questions or comments regarding amendment number 1, consent agenda?
Chairman Henio, this is Delegate Crotty.
Shinanta, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to ask Vice Chair Smith if there's any amendments to 063-21. That's the Veterans Comprehensive Budget. And I would be willing to modify to add that to the consent agenda if that just needs to move forward. Thank you, Chairman Henyo.
Vice Chair Smith.
Thank you, Shemayaja, for that question on legislation 0063-21, which is an item E, the fiscal year for 2021 comprehensive budget on the Navajo Nation Veterans Administration. I have not heard. I'm not in Winter Rock. I wish I was, but due to time constraints, I was going to entertain an amendment, but I don't have the current budget for Fort Defiance Agency. So it looks like I may have to just go with what is in 0063-21 without any amendments until it gets to Nabikiati, which will be 2 days from now, Thursday, in order to have an amendment ready for that. I think the budget is still with OMB. Thank you, Shinada.
Okay, with that response, back to you, Shinada. Delegate Amber Canals-Bacrati.
Thank you, Chair. So if I could modify to add that to the consent agenda, if that's with the committee's approval. Thank you.
Gushina, with that, there's a modification on amendment number 1 on the consent agenda to add 0063-21. Shinada, Vice Chair Smith, do you hold a second?
I'm sorry. Can you say that again, Chair Henyo, in reference to the second?
There's a modification to add this to the consent agenda. You're holding the second. Is it okay with you to add this legislation to the consent agenda?
At this point in time, I don't have anything for the amendment. I'll go ahead and do the consent on the 0063, but I will have an amendment on Nabikiati, and that will be on record. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So committee members, we do have a consent agenda before us requesting amendment number 1. Any further questions or comments on the amendment number 1, committee members?
Chairman Henyo, this is Delegate Crotty.
No, it's not that. Yeah, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman Henyo. I think I got myself. I appreciate staff for sending out or assisting with the consent agenda in our earlier discussion. And so I just want to make sure then we have all of our. So Chair, we're still working on this original legislation that was read into the record. Okay, I see it. Thank you, Chair. I'm good to go with the consent agenda. Thank you.
Not for that. Committee members, Budget Finance, any further comments or questions on amendment number 1, consent agenda?
Chair, may I ask a question? This is Peggy.
Peggy, go ahead.
Okay, so the consent agenda consists of legislation 0062-21, 0063-21, and 0069-21. Is that correct? Just clarification, that's all.
Oh, all 3.
Thank you.
Kushina, are there any questions or comments, committee members? Not hearing any. I just have a question for Ms. Lowell, Legislative Counsel. My question is, I'm chairing the meeting right now, and I'll be chairing it through the consent agenda. Is there a conflict on 6921 when it comes to signing committee reports? How should we handle this? And I was going to turn the gavel over to Vice Chair Smith to run the consent agenda portion of this agenda, but now his legislation is added on to the consent. So therefore, that's the question I have, Ms. Lowe.
Chair, this is Kristen. I don't think it would be a conflict. There's certainly nothing in the rules that addresses that directly. So as long as there's an indication on the committee report that it was part of a consent agenda, I think it'll be okay.
Okay,
Sure.
Thank you for that clarification. Thank you for that. And committee members, if there's no questions or comments on amendment number 1, let's proceed to a roll call vote. Ramona, if you would lead us in the roll call vote for the consent amendment number 1, consent agenda.
Sure, Chairman. Roll call vote on the amendment number 1 on the consent agenda. Raymond Smith Jr., how do you vote?
Green.
Okay, thank you, Shanella. Raymond Smith votes green. Jimmy Yellowhair, how do you vote? Jimmy Yellowhair. Elmer P. Begay, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Okay, thank you, Shana.
Okay.
Amber Kenneth-Balcrotty, how do you vote?
Delegate Amber Kenneth-Balcrotty votes green. Thank you.
Thank you, Shadeja. Amber Kenneth-Balcrotty votes green. Nathaniel Brown, how do you vote?
Delegate Brown votes green. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Nathaniel Brown votes green. Chairman, we have 4 members voting in the affirmative, 1 not voting, Chairman, and Chairman not voting.
Thank you, Kahalan, for that. So votes 4 in favor, 0 opposed, chair and 1 member not voting. With this, we have amendment number 1 that has to do pass. Okay, back to the main motion on the agenda. Committee members, any further questions, comments on the agenda?
This is Vice Chair Smith. Chair Henio.
Vice Chair Smith, you have the floor.
Earlier, we were discussing 0053-21 and 005-21, and we were thinking of maybe putting that on the consent agenda, but due to the work session going on and wanting to also participate in that, I'd like to motion that to be put on the next BNF meeting, basically because we are the final authority for the corrective action, and putting on a consent agenda, we're going to be able to hear these corrective action and hear what is taking place and how the chapters would be able to address the audit on behalf of the Auditor General's in questioning on that behalf. So I motion to move that to next meeting, BNF, on the, whether it's a special meeting or whether it's a regular meeting. Shananta, that's my motion.
Vice Chair Smith, for that motion to defer legislation 0053-21 and 0054-21 to the next Budget and Finance Committee meeting, whether it be a special meeting or the regular meeting, would be May 4th, 2021. So that, committee members, is there a second to this motion?
Oh, second, Delegate Crotty.
Kashina, second by Shananta, Delegate Amber Kenneth-Balcrotty. So with that, we do have a motion and second on the floor to defer 2 legislations to the next meeting, 0053-21 and 0054-21. With this, committee members, any questions or comments?
I have a question, Chair.
Delegate Nathaniel Brown.
Yes. My apologies. I know that budget and finances are priority, and being chair of other committees is not very helpful at this time with all these really important meetings. But Peggy, I know the last time I did, Shema, I did request that you looked into my legislation 0034-21. It was signed off by Resource and Development Committee about a month ago. And she did forward the information to you to be on this April 13th Budget and Finance Committee meeting. Again, at 0034-21. Can that be added? I know that you're asking about a different question. Lydia Shanada, could speaker, if you can help, chair, if you can help me. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, let's do amendment number 2 first. Amendment number 2 is to defer 005321 and 50054-21 to the next budget and finance meeting, whether a special or a regular meeting. And then once we take care of this, then we'll go back to the legislation 0034-21 as you requested. Abigail, yeah.
Oh, Abigail, yeah.
Kashina, any questions or comments regarding amendment number 2? Amendment number 2 is to defer legislation 0053-21 and 0054-21 to the next regular or special budget and finance committee meeting. Whether it be May 4th is our next regular meeting. If there's a special meeting before then we will entertain these 2 legislations. So with this, Ramona, if you would do a roll call vote for us on amendment number 2.
Sure, Chairman. Roll call vote for amendment number 2. Raymond Smith Jr., how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you. Shanella Raymond Smith Jr. votes green. Jimmy Yellow Hair, how do you vote? Jimmy Yellow Hair, how do you vote? Elmer P. Begay, how do you vote? Elmer P. Begay, how do you vote? Amber Kenneth Bach-Crotty, how do you vote?
Delegate Amber Kenneth Bach-Crotty votes green. Thank you.
Thank you, Shadeja. Amber Kenneth Bach-Crotty votes green. Nathaniel Brown, how do you vote?
Delegate Brown votes green.
Thank you, Shache. Nathaniel Brown votes green. Chairman, we have 3 members voting in the affirmative, 2 not voting, and chairman not voting. Chairman.
And Kashina carried on with that. So amendment number 2 passes. Everybody receives a due pass to defer to the next special or regular meeting. Committee members, we do have a question from Shananta Delegate Nathaniel Brown. Peggy, you have a response to the question posed by committee member Nathaniel Brown.
Yes.
Shananta, Delegate Brown, hold on. Peggy will respond to your question. Peggy, are you there?
Yes, Chair, I am. I'm looking at the document that Shiaj Nathaniel is asking about. He is correct, it was sent over on March the 10th. And it's kind of confusing because the way that legislation section does things, sometimes they do it one way and another time they do it another way. And so I can't seem to catch on to what they're doing. The only thing that's missing on this that I can tell, I think it goes to resources and development first. And there's no resources and development committee report on it that I could see. This is for, let me look some more here. They send it one person sends it one way and then the other sends it a different way, and so it's kind of confusing. But this one may have the one that I'm looking at now. Yes, okay, we've got a committee report on it, so we're good. That can be added to the agenda. It's legislation number 0034, an action relating to resources and development and budget and finance committee approving a change of project and change of funding year in resolution cap 3518 for Kayenta chapter, and is sponsored by Nathaniel Brown, council delegate. Mr. Chair, so that one's ready for the committee if you wish to add it to the agenda.
Okay. Mr. Delegate Nathaniel Brown, you have the floor.
Yes, Chair, if I can suspend the floor rules and add the legislation to the meeting agenda 0034-21. I know my chapter is waiting on that. Thank you.
We are still approving the agenda, so there's no need to suspend the floor rules here. That be your motion amendment number 3 to add legislation 0034-21 to the agenda. Question for Shinanta, Nathaniel Brown. So everything is ready in this legislation, and so it's good to go. Do you wish to add this to the regular agenda, or do you wish to add this to the consent agenda?
Shanant, if I could add that to the consent agenda. We do have chapter resolution supporting the change order. Thank you.
Okay, Gashina. So amendment number 3, motion by Shananta Delegate Nathaniel Brown is to add 0034-21 to the consent agenda. Committee members, there a second?
Delegate Cardi will second.
Okay, second by Shananta Delegate Amber Knusbach-Crotty. So there's a motion and a second to add 0034-21 to the consent agenda. There'll be 4 items on the consent agenda if this action passes. So with that, any comments or questions, committee members, regarding amendment number 3? I'm not hearing any.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Peggy.
I think you also need to, maybe just for the sake of saying it correctly on the record, you would be adding it to the agenda and adding it to the consent agenda, because it's not already on the printed agenda as a technicality.
We could do that. So with that, the amendment number 3 will be adding 0034-21 to the agenda under new business, and then therefore it'll be part of the consent agenda there after we take action. Peggy.
Yes, thank you very much.
With that, I don't hear any requests for it to speak. So Ramona, if you would lead us on a roll call vote for amendment number 3.
Chairman, amendment number 3, roll call vote. Raymond Smith Jr., how do you vote?
Green.
Okay, thank you, Shanella. Raymond Smith Jr. votes green. Jimmy Yellowhair, how do you vote? Jimmy Yellowhair, how do you vote? Elmer P. Begay, how do you vote? Elmer P. Begay, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Thank you, Shana. Elmer P. Begay votes green. Amber Knusbach-Crotty, how do you vote?
Delegate Amber Knusbach-Crotty votes green. Thank you.
Thank you, Shadeja. Amber Knusbach-Crotty votes green. Nathaniel Brown, how do you vote?
Yeah, that's the 2. I vote green. Yeah.
Thank you, Shache. Nathaniel Brown votes green. The chairman, we have 4 members voting in the affirmative, 1 not voting, and chairman not voting. Chairman.
Kashin Kedlan for that vote. Roll call vote. So with that, we do have 4 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting, plus 1 other member not voting. Amendment number 3 passes. Back to the main motion, committee members. Any further questions or comments? Tonight, Peggy, if you would do a second reading of the agenda for us before we call for a roll call vote.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the Budget and Finance Committee. Amendment 1 is creation of a consent agenda, adding legislation number 0062-21, legislation number 0063-21, and legislation number 0069-21. And the motion was made by Delegate Crotty, seconded by Delegate Smith. Vote was 4 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 not voting. Amendment 2 is delete 2 legislations to next regular or special meeting, legislation number 0053-21 and legislation number 0054-21. Motion made by Delegate Smith, seconded by Delegate Crotty. The vote was 3 in favor, 0 opposed, 2 members not voting. And then Amendment 3, add legislation number 0034-21 to the agenda, and the legislation will become part of the consent agenda. And that's legislation number 0034-21. Motion made by Delegate Brown, seconded by Delegate Crotty. The vote was 4 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 delegate not voting. That concludes the second reading.
So under the consent agenda, it'd be 7, new business 7A would be consent agenda, Peggy? How would this be renumbered or relettered? No, Peggy.
Here I'm reading to myself. Yes, that's correct. I'm sorry. I'm really talking to myself. Yes, the consent agenda is listed under new business. And I'm not sure, Kristen, does that become letter A, or is it just labeled as consent agenda and then you list A, B, C like that with legislations? That's the question I have for Legislative Council.
Chair, if I may.
Yes, Kristen.
So I would list it. I would list consent agenda. You can do it however it's easier to read. If you want to do new business, and then have letter A be the consent agenda, or if you want to, actually, I don't think there is. I'm just looking at the consent agenda section. There's no specific, actually, I'm going to retract that. So there is a specific order under Rule 8. So you would do it under new business, and then consent agenda, you can do it as capital letter A, and then the lowercase letters for each successive legislation. That's based on the order of agenda business in Rule 8. Chair, Peggy.
Thank you for that guidance. So with that, Peggy, I believe that's how we'll take care of business under new business. Abiga, do you have that, Peggy?
I have another question. As far as this is going to be posted, so I just wanted to make sure. So then at the conclusion of the consent agenda, then do the remaining items become like the 55 then becomes A again? Or how is that labeled? I'm just kind of curious on that, Chair, if you don't mind.
I think Kristen mentioned that it'd be capital letter A under 7, capital letter A would be the consent agenda with small caps listing the 4 legislations that would be part of the consent agenda. Then capital B would be legislation 005-21. I believe that's how I picked up on it.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear that well, so I didn't understand it. So I appreciate you clarifying that. Thank you.
With that, there's no further questions or comments, and we did get second reading and some guidance on how the agenda will be set up. With this, Ramona, if you would lead us in a roll call vote.
Sure, Chairman, roll call vote for the main motion. Raymond Smith Jr., how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you, Shanala. Raymond Smith Jr. votes green. Jimmy Yellowhair, how do you vote? Jimmy Yellowhair. Elmer P. Begay, how do you vote? Elmer P. Begay. Amber Kenneth Bacrati, how do you vote?
Delegate Amber Kenneth Bacrati votes green. Thank you.
Thank you, Shadeja. Amber Kenneth Bacrati votes green. Nathaniel Brown, how do you vote?
Delegate Brown votes green.
Thank you, Shache. Nathaniel Brown votes green. Chairman, we have 3 members voting in the affirmative, 2 not voting, and Chairman not voting. Chairman.
For that roll call vote, we do have 3 in favor, 0 opposed, 2 members not voting. Main motion on the adoption of the agenda passes. Kadeya, moving forward on our agenda. 4, review and adopt the journal, there's none. 5, receiving reports, there's none. 6, old business, there's none. And 7, new business, we have capital letter A, consent agenda, with a small cap A, B, C, and D. With this consent agenda, is there a motion on the consent agenda, committee members?
This is Delegate Brown on motion.
Delegate Nathaniel Brown motions on the consent agenda. Before I ask for a second, Peggy, if you could read the 4 legislations into the record under the consent agenda, then I'll ask for a second.
Vice Chair Smith.
Peggy, would you read the 4 legislations under the consent agenda into the record?
Chair and members of the Budget and Finance Committee, the consent agenda is legislation number 0062-21, an action relating to resources and development and Budget and Finance Committees approving a change in resolution number CAP 3518, Exhibit D, project number D5, deleting the project description, quote, multi-purpose site improvement, end quote, and adding, quote, road improvement for N566 and N361, plan, design, and construct, end quote, and changing the funding year to year 3, sponsored by Rick Nez, Council Delegate, legislation number 0063-21, an action relating to health, education, and human services, budget and finance, and the committees, and Navajo Nation Council, amending Council Resolution CN 8820, the Navajo Nation fiscal year 2021 comprehensive budget, approving the Navajo Nation Veterans Administration and Veterans Trust Fund budget for fiscal year 2021, sponsored by Raymond Smith Jr., Council Delegate. Legislation number 0069-21, an action relating to the Budget and Finance Committee approving and adopting an amendment and restatement of the Navajo Nation 401k savings plan to amend the plan's automatic contribution and automatic enrollment arrangement and hardship provisions, sponsored by Jamie Henio, Council Delegate. Legislation number 0034-21, an action relating to resources and development and Budget and Finance Committees approving a change of project and change of funding year and resolution CAP 3518 for Kayenta chapter, sponsored by Nathaniel Brown, Council Delegate. And so that concludes the reading of the consent agenda.
With that, we have a second. Vice Chair Smith as a second to this motion. So therefore, committee members, any questions or comments on the consent agenda? I am not hearing any requests to speak. So with this, Ramona, if you would lead us in a roll call vote on the 7A consent agenda.
Sure, Chairman. Consent A, roll call vote. Raymond Smith Jr., how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you, Shanella. Raymond Smith Jr. votes green. Jimmy Yellowhair, how do you vote? Jimmy Yellowhair, how do you vote? Elmer P. Begay, how do you vote? Elmer P. Begay. Amber Kennisbach Crotty, how do you vote?
Delegate Crotty votes green. Thank you.
Thank you, Shadeja. Amber Kennisbach Crotty votes green. Nathaniel Brown, how do you vote?
Sitsu, Delegate Brown votes green.
Thank you, Shache. Nathaniel Brown votes green. Chairman, we have 3 members voting in the affirmative, 0 opposing, 2 not voting, and Chairman not voting. Chairman.
For that roll call vote, we do have 3 in favor, 0 opposed, and 2 members not voting. As 4 legislations receive a due pass. And moving down the agenda, we do have 7B, capital letter B, legislation number 005-21. Peggy, if you would read this legislation into the record.
I'm trying to do multiple things at once. Let's see. Legislation number 0055-21. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, this is assigned to Resources and Development Committee, thence Budget and Finance Committee, thence Navigator Committee, thence Navajo Nation Council. Proposed Navajo Nation Council Resolution 24th Navajo Nation Council, 3rd year 2021, introduced by Carl Slater, prime sponsor. Tracking number 0055-21, an act relating to Resources and Development, Budget and Finance and Navigator Committees and the Navajo Nation Council, allocating $833,333 in citizen funds to the Navajo Division of Transportation for the Route 8070 Road Improvement Project, approving and adopting the Route 8070 Road Improvement Project Expenditure Plan pursuant to 12 NNC Section 2501 through 2508. This has the exhibits that are referenced in the legislation. And then there is a, let's see, the Internet Public Review has a comment from the Navajo Department or Navajo Division of Transportation regarding this. And then the has a cultural compliance, I guess some documents that are being added to this legislation. Resources and Development Committee has a due pass without amendments and a vote tally sheet, Mr. Chair.
Akashina, thank you for that reading. Shananta, Vice Chair Slater, are you still on the line with us? Vice Chair Slater? Shananta, Vice Chair Carl Slater, are you on the line?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, you can hear me now? Okay. Thank you very much.
Hold on, Shananta. I just wanted to make sure you were on the line before I call for a motion in a second. So let me do the motion in a second here. Shinanta, Budget and Finance Committee members, is there a motion on this legislation? Is there a
Chair Henry,
motion for legislation? Motion by Vice Chair Smith. Vice Chair Smith for a motion. Is there a second? Committee members. Is there a second to legislation 005-21?
This is Delegate Brown. I'll second.
Magkasina Shinanta. Delegate Nathaniel Brown second. So motion made by Shinanta, Vice Chair Raymond Smith Jr. and second by Shinanta, Delegate Nathaniel Brown. We do have a motion second established. Therefore, defer to the sponsor, Shinanta, Vice Chair Carl Slater, to introduce the legislation to the Budget and Finance Committee.
Thank you very much, committee members, for the opportunity to present legislation 0055-21. The purpose of this legislation is to appropriate $833,333 in funding that was line item vetoed in the last council and presidential administration from the CHSN fund under Cap 3518. So there were only 2 chapters across the entire Navajo Nation who did not receive the full funding that was due to them under the expenditure plan. And this legislation reaffirms that the chapter is fully behind the improvement of Road 8070. And the rationale for its line item veto was that it's a BIA road and the Navajo Nation should be forcing BIA to take care of them. As we know, the Navajo Nation, as a matter of policy, appropriates funding to BIA roads all the time in order to either maintain or improve them. So I ask for your affirmative consideration of this legislation to advance it to the Nabakeatia and then Navajo Nation Council. And on the line, I should have Mr. Patterson Yazzie from the chapter. And you heard that Ms. Charlene Kirk is also on, she's the CSC. Just like any other road appropriation project or construction project, this has been in the works for a very long time. Navajo Division of Transportation has completed compliance work for this route, and you'll see a project sheet on there that I think everyone is familiar with, the concept where you have the purpose and need section and the scope of work. That number is higher, it's 1.495 million, but the chapter needs something to get going so that we can continue to work on this. And so I ask that you allow the chapter to work with NDOT to help refine the scope, with the funding that's available. Chapter's also interested in pursuing funding under the road bond or stimulus package that might be coming out from the Navajo Nation. And so this will provide a solid first step and permit the chapter to get going with NDOT. And then as supplemental funding comes down the line, be able to expand hopefully the scope of the project. Essentially right now focusing on positive drainage and then stabilizing and graveling the road. This is a school bus route. It serves numerous citizens. And I think we're all aware of response times to our constituents, whether it's for fire, whether it's for emergency medical, heaven forbid. The ADT on this road is 381. So you'll see that this is in line with the long range transportation plan and the strategies contained therein. This is not a road with a very low ADT that's asking for an exorbitant improvement. It's something that's fully justified under NDOT. It's justified under Cap 3518, but there was just an agreement, I guess a disagreement in the last administration. So I think with the wisdom of this committee and this council and this presidential administration, we'll be able to make progress for our community. And Chair, I think for the sake of time, that's the relevant information. And the agents, if the committee would like to hear from them, I leave it up to you. But at this time, that's the relevant information. Again, this money was line item vetoed. The chapter did not receive their full allocation, and this is to restore the amount that was line item vetoed. We are not asking for any supplemental appropriations from this, from CSN. We're just asking to restore what was taken from the chapter. So thank you, Chair. I'll yield the time back to you.
Dr. Shane Caroline for that introduction. With this, committee members, are there questions or comments regarding this legislation?
And Chair Henio, this is Vice Chair Smith.
Yeah, Vice Chair Smith, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Chair Henio and Budget and Finance Committee members of the Navajo Nation, and also Vice Chair Slater, regarding your legislation here to improve or build roads or to work with this money. $833,333 under Exhibit D, which was line item vetoed by the former president of the Navajo Nation in May 7th of 2018. My question goes out to Legislative Council, or maybe OMB. If the president had line item vetoed this under Exhibit D, the amount of $833,333 for project number D-14, does that mean when the president line item veto that whole dollar amount too is no longer available? I know that we can't override line item veto dollars. Are we in the right? Are we stepping into grounds that where the people voted and said, if there's a line item veto, that council cannot? I know we're not trying to override this. I know what Honorable Slater is trying to do, but according to this is a line item veto, so it's more or less a question to the legality of this through this legislation. Could Legislative Council and OMB answer that? And the question to OMB is this dollar amount still available, or is this dollar amount slashed out, and whatever the line item veto has did away with that? And I'm sure that $833,333 is somewhere, and that's the question I have, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that question, Vice Chair Smith. Direct this to the our Legislative Council, Ms. Kristen Lowe.
Thank you, Chair. So to answer Delegate Smith's questions, the first part of Delegate Smith's question was, is there a legality question because this project was the subject of a line item veto? And my determination, my opinion is that it is permissible, and it is not an attempt to override a line item veto. If members of the Budget and Finance Committee and other delegates will recall that something similar happened in the amendment to the comprehensive budget legislation, and the question also came up, are we attempting to override a line item veto? And the president had line item vetoed certain items. So for example, certain things that were on the exhibit that funding came from the Personnel Lapse Fund. So some of those same programs were funded, and some things were for what was in the original line item vetoed budget legislation. and those were also incorporated into the amendment to the comprehensive budget legislation. And so they're distinct actions. So I don't think this is an attempt to override something that's been line item vetoed. The second question dealt with, okay, where the money goes that was line item vetoed, and is it still available? So again, members of the Budget and Finance Committee, if you'll recall, there was another delegate that was attempting to do something similar to this. Her projects were also line item vetoed, and the question came up whether you could just amend the CAP 3518 legislation. And so there was a lot of discussion with OMB, DOJ, OLC, and as I understand it, DOJ has rendered an opinion that once the president line item vetoed the projects that were part of CAP 3518, that money was not, say, kept off to the side as unallocated. That money remains and is in the CSN fund. So this legislation is, just go to the legislation. This legislation is an allocation from the CSN fund for those funds that either never came out or went back into the CSN fund. So depending on, how you conceptualize it. But the only way, as I currently understand it, based on the opinion from DOJ, is that funding is in CSN. So the only way to get the funding out of CSN and use it for projects is a legislation as is drafted and in front of the committee in 55-21. Chair, members of the committee.
Okay, therefore, back to Vice Chair Smith. Does that help you with the question you had, concern you had?
Thank you, Chair Henry. Thank you, Chair Henry. I'm looking at Exhibit D. Yes, that did answer my question. In Exhibit D, it does show that this is under number 42, and there is an amount of $833,333. I'm not really following along. Maybe Vice Chair Slater can explain what's going on with Exhibit D. I mean, the legislation saying it wants to use 833, but in here, the citizen expenditure plan under Exhibit D clearly states that it's already in there. So maybe Vice Chair can explain this so that I can be on the same page. I'm not against this legislation. What I'm trying to do is just ensure that my vote goes accordingly to how this legislation is drafted, and I don't want to try to throw any amendments or anything like that, but help me along with this, and that way I can understand this, because it's going to take 2/3 vote at the Navajo Nation Council. I know that Vice Chair Slater is trying to prepare this for the spring session, so this will possibly be the one of the first on the list of 2/3 in the spring session after the reports. So I'd like to hear this from the sponsor of this legislation to get a clarification on that. Chair Henia, thank you.
Katrina, enough of that. Vice Chair Smith, Vice Chair Slater, if you could please provide a response.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Chair Delegate Smith, Vice Chair Smith. So D42, as you see there, that is the item, and it says Rock Point under chapter, then you go down project description, and at the very far end, it says CHSN funds requested, and that's where we get the total 833,333. Now, if you go down to past the photos in the legislation and you get, or sorry, past the exhibit, Plan D, you'll see the president's line item veto letter. And when you go to item A on the second page, it's the second A. So it says number 42, year one funding, 46,100, year two funding, 143,250, and then year three funding, 643,983. So, and then you get the total amount of 833. So he line item vetoed this project and it totals the 833. When you go back to the exhibit, you'll see each of those year 1, 2, and 3 fundings lining up with the exact same amounts that the President Russell Begay line item vetoed. So again, the second page of the letter, the second paragraph A, where it says number 42, year 1 funding. And the president prefaces that by saying, after consultation with the impacted divisions, I've decided to exercise my line item veto authority. The justification and details for use of the president's line item veto is set forth below. And that's where he's saying he is line item vetoing that amount. So I hope that clarifies. Thank you, Chair.
Back to you, Vice Chair Smith.
Thank you, Chair Henio, and thank you, Vice Chair Slater, on that. I see that memo, and I do follow along on behalf of that. So this money is still available. Is that what I understand? Is OMB on board? Is that basically the $833,333 on behalf of the number 42? And that's my question. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, so I believe when Ms. Lowe responded that money was not set aside anywhere, it went back into the citizen account to where it was reinvested as part of the big investment. Now, what Vice Chair Slater is doing is a new legislation to get allocation from the citizen money. He's treating this like a new legislation, all brand new, and just referencing the Exhibit D as a justification for his allocation request. Does that help, Vice Chair Smith?
Gushi Chair Henio. Kedita. Abiga. Kela.
Kushina Shinanta. Any further questions or comments on the Budget and Finance Committee members?
This is Delegate Brown.
Delegate Nathaniel Brown.
Yate, thank you for this presentation, and thank you for the legislation, Honorable Slater. On our other committee, I'm looking at a white paper, the Ne'etin Bahanet Navajo Road Emergence, the Navajo Nation Transportation White Paper, 2021. We're currently receiving a report from Brandy Tomhave and working with collecting data on Navajo roads. This is really interesting. I'm glad that your legislation is moving forward. So I'll go ahead and share this white paper. It's really adding to some of the, of course, funding is always a big issue on Navajo. So I'll go ahead and forward this to the 24th Navajo Nation Council and our staff once I receive that. So Eddie, I just wanted to add to that. Yeah.
Delegate Brown, for sharing the information with the committee and the rest of the council. Gushina, with that, committee members, any further questions or comments on legislation 005-21? I'm not hearing any request to speak. So let's move to a vote. Ramona, if you would lead us in a roll call vote on legislation 55-21.
Sure, Chairman. Roll call vote on the main motion of legislation number 005521. Jimmy Yellowhair, how do you vote? Jimmy Yellowhair, how do you vote? Raymond Smith Jr., how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you, Shanella. Raymond Smith Jr. votes green. Elmer P. Begay, how do you vote? Elmer P. Begay, how do you vote? Amber Kenneth-Bott Crotty, how do you vote?
Delegate Amber Kenneth-Bott Crotty votes green. Thank you.
Thank you, Shadeja. Amber Kenneth-Bott Crotty votes green. Nathaniel Brown, how do you vote?
Delegate Brown votes green. Yeah.
Thank you, Shache. Nathaniel Brown votes green. Chairman, you have 3 members voting in the affirmative, 0 opposing, 2 members not voting, and chairman not voting. Chairman.
I guess you get along for that roll call vote. Legislation 005-21 receives a due pass with a vote of 3 in favor, 0 opposed, and 2 members not voting. And it moves on to Nabukia Committee, which is set for Thursday. Shananta, Vice Chair Slater, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, on behalf of Rock Point, and look forward to expressing the need at Nabukia. Thank you very much, committee.
Kashina, with that, that takes care of all of our new business items. The next item is close of business, written announcements, adjournment.
Motion adjourned, Vice Chair Smith.
Motion to adjourn by Vice Chair Smith.
I'll second by Delegate Brown.
Second by Delegate Nathaniel Brown. Questions, comments, committee members? Tanoia, thank you for your participation and everything that we've done this morning at our Budget and Finance Committee meeting. Ramona, if you would lead us in the roll call vote for adjournment.
Chairman Henyo, Delegate Nez wants to say thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you for being with us too, and it is duly noted. You're welcome. Ramona, if you would lead us in a roll call vote.
Sure, Chairman. Roll call vote for the close of the session. Raymond Smith Jr., how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you, Shanella. Raymond Smith Jr. votes green. Jimmy Yellowhair, how do you vote? Jimmy Yellowhair, how do you vote? Elmer P. Begay, how do you vote? Elmer P. Begay, how do you vote? Amber Kenneth-Bott Crotty, how do you vote?
Delegate Crotty votes green. Thank you.
Thank you, Shadeja. Amber Kenneth-Bott Crotty votes green. Nathaniel Brown, how do you vote?
Delegate Brown votes green. Yeah.
Thank you, Shache. Nathaniel Brown votes green. Chairman, we have 3 members voting in the affirmative, 2 members not voting, 0 opposed, chairman not voting. Chairman?
Okay, headline Ramona for that. It is 11:42 a.m. and we are hereby adjourned. 3 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting, plus 2 other members not voting. Okay, headline committee members, Budget and Finance Committee, also Shananta, Chairman Nez, and Shananta, Vice Chair Slater for being on the call with us this morning. To everybody that was on the call, Headline, thank you. And we are hereby adjourned.
Thank you, everybody, for
When will
participating.
the committee reports be ready?
Are you available today?
I plan on going into Window Rock this afternoon. If not, I could be there again tomorrow morning also to sign them.
They should be ready today. I'll probably take lunch break and then around 1:30 or so. That gives you enough time to get here, right? They should be ready by 1:30 or 2 o'clock today.
Oh, okay, Shana, just send me a text. Send me a text and we can go from there.
All righty. Thank you. Good night, everybody. Have a good day.
Thank you.